Something I do often wonder when I talk to spiritualists who make the claim that they can speak to animals, or at least communicate with animals. There's a couple of questions that I have for you.
Okay.
Can animals convey concepts to you, things that they want?
For example, they say, I want my owner to take me out more. Yes.
They can convey those concepts?
Correct, yes.
Okay.
Serious?
So this is an honest-to-God question. It's going to sound very strange, okay? But I really need to know the answer to this. If an animal conveyed through a spiritualist that it wanted to have sex with a person, how would that then be a problem to have sex with that animal?
I don't grasp the question. I'm not.
So an animal conveys. So the big problem with bestiality, and it's a big problem, right, is that the animal can't consent. But as the medium, the animal could actually consent. So how would that even be a problem then?
They don't know what they're consenting to.
Well, no, they do, because they can tell her.
If she could read a 13-year-old's mind and say, I want to sleep with Ashton Kutcher.
Let her answer, sisterhood.
But she said she
calm this sisterhood down. Just let her answer. I got to know the answer to this.
Technically, there is no problem.
Oh my
Wrong
God.
answer.
I think maybe you would have the ethical duty to just like not say that.
Be the middleman and be like, explain to them why
because
that's
you're the
not
only
okay.
one who knows.
If that's what you believe
Who
in.
knows what?
Well,
because
she's the medium who has the knowledge of what the animal is asking for.
But the animal wants it.
Okay, but
when I was
then
14, I wanted to sleep with Ashton
ethical
Kutcher.
duty to like not.
I'm sorry, I don't think
express
she's
that.
a medium. I think it's.
Well, that's we're playing into it though. That's beside the point. We're just
bullshit.
But even if it's not,
that's what
then
it's a debate. We're
then
just
it could be
discussing
that the medium should have an ethical obligation to like not disclose that because they're the only
Why?
one. Because they're the one.
But that's what the animal wants.
Exactly.
But why is the?
That doesn't mean as a little girl, I wanted to sleep with Justin Bieber.
But wait. The person, let's say in this situation, the person wants it and wants to know if the animal wants it, so hires the medium. The medium, stop. The medium comes out and says, I've talked to the animal. Green light. What's the problem here?
It's an animal.
And so the person.
Wait. I get that, right? We're assuming that this is true. She can speak to animals. So if we take the objection, the moral objection, the animal can't communicate this with anybody, and they can't, right? But now they can. This is Dr. Dolittle shit here, okay? This is some Dr. Dolittle shit. The raccoon can tell you what it wants for dinner now. So the animal's like, man,
I feel like
stop, Kiko. Let me ask the question before you answer the question. Let me at least ask it first. So, bam, the animal's like, this is what I want, medium. Medium goes to the owner and it's like, that's what it wants, right? What's the actual problem here? Unless you're saying this whole communication thing can't be possible.
Just because you want something doesn't mean it's right. Just because I'm gonna use words lightly here. I'm gonna try to go around. Just because an underage person might say.
What does that have to do with anything we're talking about?
Because you're talking about if they're vocalizing the point that they want that, even though as a society we deem that as wrong, if they can speak up for themselves and say, no, that's what I want to do, just because someone who's not of the legal consent age says I want to do this doesn't make it right for that person
makes no
to do
sense.
it.
The animal's fully grown in this instance. It goes around and like murders like hyenas and shit. Even if it can do what it wants, man.
Even if someone underage murders kids, it doesn't make them right to do those things.
Yeah, that has nothing to do with what we're talking about.
You're talking about consent.
Okay,
we forget that
so you're saying
is a thing.
Why can an animal consent to another then?
Because they're both animals. They're both on the same playing field.
What makes that okay then?
It's the same thing why an underage kid can consent to another underage kid.
If an animal can consent,
they're on the same playing field.
Kiko, here's the whole. It's very simple. If an animal can consent to an animal, if an animal could consent to an animal, why couldn't it consent to you?
Because we have different communication.
Stop. Listen, when you're having a conversation with somebody, this is what drives Brian bonkers. I get it, right? I get that there's a sisterhood, right? Everybody wants to jump in on behalf of somebody else. I've given you nothing but respect when it comes to these conversations. Listen to exactly what you, the person, is saying, not the person next to you, right? Let them answer the question. I'll do the same thing for you. Kiko, if an animal can consent to another animal, why couldn't it consent to you?
Because I'm not that animal. I don't speak the same language they do.
That has nothing to do with anything. What would that have to do with anything? If the animal can consent, it can consent. If it can consent to another dog, why couldn't it consent to you? And if you had a medium who came out and was like, it's consenting, then isn't the medium, wouldn't you just have to err on the fact that you think the medium isn't really a medium?
Well, that's a whole different
Exactly.
point. I would agree with that. That's a whole
Thank
different
you.
thing that
That's
I was trying to be nuanced about it and have a conversation, debate about it. But if you want to take it there, those are two different things. I don't
It's
think
not.
any of that's real. But I was just talking about the fact that two people on the same playing field can consent to each other doesn't mean it's fair game for everybody. Like two 16-year-olds can consent together doesn't mean a 16-year-old and 19-year-old can
I don't
consent
think
together.
two 16-year-olds can consent together.
Well, I do. And that's a difference of opinion.
Do you think two 12-year-olds could?
I don't think it's right, but I don't think one of them should be in trouble for it. No.
What?
What?
If two, you're telling me. So here, let me
We're
be.
saying that they can't. They can't. The whole point here is the reason we have those laws is because we don't think they can.
Okay, but-
and if they do,
What happens if they do?
Then you're still saying the
Move it
same.
off.
Nothing happens,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Nothing happens.
You're still saying the same thing though. You're still saying
No, I'm not.
they're not capable of consent. That's what makes it wrong. So the thing is like ultimately here, if an animal can consent to an animal, you're saying it's right that an animal can do that. So if that's the case, if a medium comes in and says, well, the animal consents to you, then the only thing you could really say is that the medium was wrong, right?
No.
No?
See, because
No?
First, you can say mediums are bullshit. That's the first thing you should say. Secondly,
I
you
would.
shouldn't be talking about my dog wanting to sleep with me anyways. Like, why were we even like? If you want to,
Do you know why?
I'm trying to have this conversation, but then you guys
Can
keep
I explain why I
piggybacking
bring
off
it
of
up?
those concepts. If you want to think those things, then
Yeah.
I will agree. Yeah, I would never even be having this conversation, but you guys were feeding into it, so I was feeding into it too. So don't make it seem like I'm trying to have this conversation
Look, I'm not trying
when
to
it's
make
not
it
something I would
seem
ever even talk
like
about.
you're defending this thing.
Okay, thank you.
All I'm trying to do is show you a parallel. So the parallel is for the psychic medium, the person who's the shaman, the person who is the witch, the person who is this thing. If they make the great claim of communication, I can communicate with this thing that you yourself can't communicate with. It's fair to test it, right? Yeah. Isn't it fair to test if they could really communicate with whatever this thing is you can't communicate with?
I mean, telepathy, whatever it is, sure.
Yeah,
Not
sure.
touchy motherfuckers.
So isn't it a great
but-
way to test that, to ask it a question like that? Ask them a question like
See,
that.
my mind would never even go to ask a question.
Why
like
not?
that, because that's weird.
Because it brings...
That's why.
Well,
What?
but the thing is it brings up this great parallel that you can point to immediately and say, even if it were true, wouldn't we still have to err on the fact it wasn't?
See, I can't even go into those because when you ask me something like that, all my mind's going to go to is I would never go and ask a medium if my dog wants to. Like, that's what my mind is going towards. So I'm sorry, I can't get past that part.
You're not asking the medium if your dog wants to
That's what
fuck
you
you.
just-
You're asking the medium if the person says that the animal can consent to any person. It doesn't have to be you. Why does it have to be you specifically?
Well, if a medium told me that my dog is consenting for this, that, and third to happen, first of all, whatever.
There we go.
But
Now we're getting somewhere.
If they, it's so hard to say this though because they'd be like, "Why are you at the medium?" But I would say you're full of shit. Like
Right.
you're delusional.
Exactly.
Yes.
But that's what I'm saying though. I would say this, but I thought we were giving in to this whole
I
idea
am.
I'll jump
concept.
in.
But when you ask
I
me
am.
questions like
and
that,
hang on.
I have to,
And
like-
Kiko, and what does she say? There would be no problem.
and that's why I jumped in because I was like, "You're delusional." That's why I jumped in, Andrew, is because
But
I
I
said
was
that's crazy to
testing
say
the
that.
delusion,
Okay.
Kiko.
Maybe I feel like we're maybe fighting the same evil right now. I don't know, but it's really, really common sense to me. Like I don't know how else to say.
You would think.
Like,
So I got to go back to this, right? Why couldn't the animal, like honestly, could you get consent from the animal for something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I'm going to go out and smoke.
Honestly,
But it doesn't
honestly,
mean you should.
like, hey,